Whoa, Chris.
Oh, wait.
I know it's we got a little bit of
There we go.
a little bit of.
That's me today. Can you guys see
tree
that?
is that? We
Yeah,
can
what
see
is it? What kind of a tree is it?
It's called a dragon blood tree, and it's found only on an island naturally off the southern shore of Yemen.
Wow.
It's not. That's like 900 years old.
Goodness gracious.
Have you been to the southern shore of Yemen?
No, it's a small island actually. It's only on the island. So
And it only exists. So this tree only exists in that one place and in that one island.
in the whole world, yeah. But you can get them. My brother-in-law got one. I showed it to him. He's got them. You can get like seeds for like $12. They'll send you a gallon jug with a little seedling in it.
Wow, it's so unusual because it's almost like tufts of cactus grass or aloe vera plants or something on the top, and then.
Yeah, I might
Wow.
have a better picture of it. I don't know how. I try to share, but it doesn't give me the.
What's
Yeah.
it called? What kind of tree is it?
It's called a dragon blood.
Dragon
Blood tree.
tree. Oh. Oh, you're right. You can buy. I see.
And you could keep them indoors, and they'll grow to like 5 feet high, but they won't look like this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they'll grow outside because it's a weird climate there. It's got like moisture in the air. That's where it gets most of its water from, but it's also obviously not very cold. It's pretty, there's dry heat surrounding it too, but.
Yeah. Wow. It's so that kind of dragon blood thing, stuff that you can buy in health food. Is that is that the sap, I wonder, from the tree?
It's you get it and you'll see small, like if you look online, they'll show seedlings and how they look in 5 years, and they don't look anything like this. What you're seeing is basically the top part, like in like 3 or 4 different spots.
Yeah, I'm seeing pictures of it now. I can see that.
I know so many of my stories relate to podcasts, but this reminds me of a podcast. There's one on Radiolab where a Lebanese guy notices that there's a town called Lebanon in almost every state in the United States. So he goes on a trip to go visit every Lebanon in the US, and the first place he lands is like Lebanon, Wyoming or something, like it's this like one street town, and they tell the story about if I'm not mistaking the exact story, but they tell a story about, our town got named Lebanon because there was a gift of a Lebanese cedar tree, the Jesus tree, to our town. And so we have a friendship or a partnership with Lebanon. And so the guy says, let me see it. So he goes out, they show him the tree, and he says, that's not a Lebanese cedar tree. So there's also a very funny story about what happened to these Lebanese friendship trees that were distributed in the US, I don't know, 100, 150 years ago to the towns of Lebanon by the country of Lebanon, and how they are not, in fact, Lebanese cedar trees because
what
of
are
that
they?
kind of. I can't remember exactly what, it was some, is often the case in a podcast. Then he has to research what happened to the trees and goes back, and then, so it was something, the nursery that was procured to do it accidentally killed all the trees or didn't understand how to take care of them or whatever, and swapped out the type of tree. So
this is close enough.
In this little town, they have this cedar tree. I think they're called Jesus trees. That they, town lore was that they had this.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
So that it is true. I'm just looking at online because you can get all of these kind of skin remedies that are called dragon's blood, which I always thought was a ridiculous name. And now I realize that it's the bark bleeds, this
Yes.
sap, a red sap, which has anti-inflammatory compounds. So it's
There's
used-
also an incense.
Of
as
this
well.
specific tree?
yeah, so
Yes.
it's used to fight against skin problems
Mm.
because of its antioxidant phenols and anti-inflammatory compounds. Inflammatory
Wow.
Ah,
This is such
Yeah.
a smart bunch of people here.
I thought you guys would find that tree interesting. I was gonna bring it up the other
Yeah.
day and it's not time, but it's a book that I kind of got recommended by Craig called The Overstory.
oh, I
And
have that.
We were hiking with him last.
I read
It's a-
that. It's amazing.
It's a great book.
Yeah. It made me cry. That's pretty rare when reading a book.
Did
What
you
is-
read the other book you recommended that was, it's like the story of tree or something like, but it's more of basically talking about trees out there that, how they talk to each other.
Yeah,
Basically-
I've read the reviews of that one.
Yeah.
It's really good. So we did a backpacking trip with him last year and he was reading it and telling Dawn and us about it. And I'm like, wow, I'm gonna read that little book. So he got us that little book we read and then finally got around to this book. But yeah, it's amazing. Some of the trees that are out there you don't know about that are just, we know the redwoods are old, but some of these other ones that are, 1,000
Yeah.
years old or the oldest tree is in, I don't know, Norway or somewhere. It's like 9,000 years old. So if you go look at it, it's like, I can't think of the name of it right now, but if you go for oldest tree in the world, I think
Yeah.
it's Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries. And it's maybe 15 feet high.
And it's still
But
a
basically
living
what this-
organism.
Yes, so it's got a lot of roots, but when this 15-foot tree dies, it just shoots up another one. And
Isn't
it's-
that like there's a yew tree in Scotland
That's it.
that at a church. I thought it
I think
was
it was Scotland, though.
I thought it was like 3,000 years old. Rosaline, do you know? I think it's the Fortingall yew or something like that.
No, I don't know.
And it does the same thing. It sends up a shoot for a new tree.
Somehow it does something. I mean, it's pretty big from the pictures. I never got a chance to check it out, but I'd like to. But I think it's several thousand years old.
Wow.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? That they
Yeah.
can live.
Isn't Pando the aspen colony? Isn't that one of the oldest tree organisms in the world?
Yeah, that it's huge. It covers a huge
In
area.
Utah, yeah, and it's estimated to be 80,000 years old.
That's incredible.
More, yeah.
What a network. That's trees
Network.
talking to one another for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Those trees are
so
talking to each
fascinating
other.
to think that, how they do communicate and work with the microorganisms and spread when they need to, but yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Or you think of that species, how did it develop on that one little island off of Yemen?
Yeah. Like this is the more obvious one we think of is like the dodo birds or I can't even think of the New Zealand. There was the animal that was there that they knocked off too that was like the dodo bird. It was a ground species bird. I can't think of the name of it right now. Dana?
Right, that
Yeah.
are unique
I know what
to an
talking about.
island.
I can't remember. It's like a emu. Like it's tiny. It's small.
Yeah.
Looked like a little tiny dinosaur.
That they basically they just wiped out the indigenous people did, but there are birds there in New Zealand. There's quite a few that are just like the kiwi. They're just ground birds, and they hide. But if you can't fly, that's not a really good defense for ground rodents. But
Did anybody see the Scientific Americans? I don't know. There was a science paper published about the platypus's genome. They recently
No.
fully sequenced it to figure out why it took the interesting evolutional divergence that it did. That it has qualities of lizard and mammal and
And bird.
bird. It's really interesting that they're the only animal that can lay an egg and yet lactate. So I don't know, you should Google it. Quite interesting. Just such an
Platypus
odd
DNA.
creature.
That is kind of cool what they can figure that out with the genes. And I mean, even with in the overstory book I learned was they basically said we have 20% common in trees.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
why we love it so much.
I'm
That's why
writing down this
Oh,
book.
we love them, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Steve read it over
Definitely
the summer.
union with my trees.
were you thinking about the extinct creature? Were you talking about thinking about a Mao? M-A-O?
Yes.
There you go.
Good old Google.
Yep. Don't say Google, just say oh yeah, it just came to me.
It just
Came
came
to
to
me.
me, yeah. It had this faraway look in my eyes as I.
Yeah.
As you frantically Googling.
Ugh.
Did
How's
anybody,
everybody today?
yeah, wet.
Yes.
Very wet. You just
Yeah.
got finished.
Friggin'
Chainsaw.
Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
We-
you guys were
weather.
getting bad weather.
But it's nice and warm out. It's
It's
almost
nice and
60.
warm.
It's
It's
always funny
tropical
when that
rain.
comes. You step out and it's like, oh, that's warm and wet.
Hmm.
And very
Yeah,
wet.
we have a giant branch laying across our fire pit. Huge.
Hmm.
Peter was just chopping it up.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I must have been out. I'm sure
It came in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it was ran like crazy when I went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yes. Sometimes living around fir trees, those random branches or trees kind of make you nervous.
Yeah. Yeah,
Our
we've
old
got a
house,
couple of-
there was a couple firs across the road, and they took them out, and I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. But once they cut them down, I'm like, the center of one of them, like a foot. Now I probably would have lived for another 50 years or more. It was just empty. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that would have crushed our house and anything else. Because it was like a 6 foot or 7 foot diameter. It was like one of these old growth trees that just hadn't been cut down before.
Yeah, it's like the ones that we have in our yard. Yeah, we have a couple of widowmakers out front. They're not close to the house, so we haven't called anybody out to take them out yet. I mean, you're an idiot if you're standing underneath it when it's windy
Raining.
anyways. Takes
Why do they call them widow makers?
I was
not
gonna say I don't know
widower?
if I've ever heard them called widow makers before.
Have you
Oh,
not?
yeah. They call us dead
Dang.
names widow makers. I guess it's only the men that are dumb enough to stand underneath in the windy conditions.
That's why. See, you answered your own question.
Yeah, well, I must be smarter than most men. At least I recognize I'll go stand underneath it, but 10 feet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back at my office today because I have that work going on at my house, and it literally is like walking into like a ghost town, right? Because nobody's been here for 10 months, and everybody's stuff is just exactly as they left it on March
Weird.
17th.
So
Yeah,
that's
it
weird.
is.
Here.
It is
What
bizarre.
about, what about plants? Did people come in to water plants or anything?
No,
Oh.
here's my plant.
Oh.
No, it's
Oh.
everything. Every plant is dead, and everybody's stuff is just like my coffee cup is exactly where I left it.
Wow.
It's
Sure.
bizarre.
How thick a layer of dust?
It's clean. I was surprised. I actually brought some, wipes or whatever. So I don't know if building services is coming in and cleaning, or if there's just enough circulation in this building. It's a
Wow.
Wow.
There's got to be some interesting growths going on there. If people left like a half a mug of coffee or some food out, or yeah.
Yeah, have you looked in
Yeah,
the office fridge?
Yeah,
the
but
fridge is
did-
clean because I did bring in my lunch and I stuck it in the fridge. I'm the only one here today.
And but what about heating? There's heating on, I presume.
There is heating on. Yeah, this is a DC municipal building, so the Department of Health is in this building.
No.
Right.
Which is
Wow.
one reason people get a little nervous coming in, because there's a free clinic on the ground level that the municipal Department of Health. So usually when we come in the morning, there's like a line of people in to get some kind of, I don't know what services they get at this clinic, but
So you had to turn all the lights on and everything.
yeah.
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 Wow.
Strange. Yeah.
So I'm
must
going to be working it,
weird.
but at least I have a nice work chair for once. I've been sitting on my dining room chair for 9 months. So I've got like, maybe I'll come in more often.
And did they not like? Were you not allowed to bring your like chairs home? Because we all brought our chairs home and our. And
We
anything with-
were, I just never got around to it.
Right. Yeah.
We were kind of laughing, like, how would I guess, I mean, I could have gotten a friend to come pick it up, but like I roll my chair down the street to the metro, get on the metro with my chair.
Carry it over your head. Little workout.
I've seen weirder things on
Yeah.
on the metro. Have you seen
you
the
have your
pictures
own
of
seat
the
on the metro?
people's the people carrying their dogs in bags in the subway, in the
Yes.
New York City subway?
I love that. No dogs.
Well, you can bring a dog if it's in a bag.
Right.
So
That's
people
so
get
funny,
like the
yeah.
biggest ass bag they can find
was
and
gonna
stick their
say.
dog in it and cut like dog holes in for the legs. So they're like those big blue IKEA dog food bags. And dogs.
Big old Great Dane.
It's hilarious.
Sitting in an IKEA bag.
Poor dogs.
I think I've seen photos of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. They
Yeah.
meant like little chihuahuas and handbags, but anyway, so shall we get going?
Sure.
Okay.